New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science. With Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliff, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome. So glad that you could join us today. I'm Joy Fletcher and one of the co-hosts of Divine Science Everywhere here on New Thought Media Network. Some of the ways that I express ministry is as a hospice bereavement coordinator. I provide grief support and I do officiate rituals ranging from weddings to ashes release and celebration of life and baby blessings, and you name it, we'll create it. I also am the minister of Divine Science Ministers Association. Well, I am the president of Divine Science Ministers Association, as well as a member of a lot of other New Thought organizations.
Hi, I'm Reverend Jeff, and I apologize. We don't believe in hell as a literal place, but if it is, I'm going there for laughing at Joy. Because when she said that she does weddings and then ashes release, I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's it. You know, that's the death of your life as soon as you get married. And I thought, don't be saying that. Don't be saying that. So I'm Reverend Jeff.
Yeah, don't say it.
But I said it anyway. I'm a rebel that way. I am also very pleased to be part of the show here. I get the supreme honor of introducing our guests. And in a little while, I'm going to introduce you to a lady who is absolutely fabulous. And I've got a couple of really interesting questions I hope that you find interesting as well to ask her about horses. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. You'll find me on Facebook at Giati Ministries. That's Giati hyphen Ministries. And Giati stands for God is all there is, because I'd be a really poor divine scientist if I didn't push the omnipresence of spirit. I'm also on the board of directors of the Divine Science Ministers Association, as well as Divine Science Federation International. I'm a lifetime membership of DSFI, as well as affiliated New Thought Network and International New Thought Alliance. It is to my deep regret that I am not yet a life member of the Ministers Association, but I'm going to fix that in the coming year. So there you go. Welcome to Divine Science Everywhere.
And I'm Durrell Watkins. I am an auxiliary bishop with the Global Justice Institute. I'm the senior minister of the Sunshine Cathedral, and I'm the current president of the Divine Science Federation International. And of course, I'm one of the co-hosts, and I get to play with this group every Friday, which is a great joy in my life.
Speaking of joy, it's her turn to do Centering Moment.
Right.
How about that? We just have fun. All right. So this is a tradition every week that we take a few moments for a centering moment. So I invite you to be present right here, right now, in this moment. Let us settle into this moment. Perhaps you want to close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a soft, slow, conscious breath in, and then release. And let's do that again. Landing right here in this moment. Release. So in our lives, there is nothing to fix, nothing to prove, or nothing to earn, because we are spiritual beings experiencing a human experience. And we live and move and have our being in omnipresence. And one of the beautiful teachings of divine science is the focus of the awareness of omnipresence. And this omnipresence, this divine life, is present everywhere, in every moment, and is fully present with us right now, whether we're in physical form or not. In divine science, we understand that our relationship with God or being or spirit is not distant or external. It's intimate, immediate, constant, living life. And it's not separate from our relationship within ourselves. Although as humans, sometimes we live under the misconception that we are separate from this omnipresence. But every moment is an opportunity to return to the awareness that omnipresence is always with us, above us, below us, behind us, in front, within, everywhere. Omnipresence is everywhere. As Nona Brooks, one of the co-founders of Divine Science, taught, nothing stands between us and God. We live in God, and God lives in us. It's one life, one love, one substance, one power. So if nothing stands between us and God, then there's no barrier that within us that must be removed, no flaw that disqualifies us, and no part of ourselves that is unworthy of love. Divine science reminds us God is not an observer of life. God is life itself. And every part and parcel of us is of that life itself. As Melinda Kramer wrote in Hidden Harmony, love is the universal healer. It knows no barrier, no separation, and gives or goes freely to all of us as the nature of God itself. Just think about that. Love knows no barrier, no separation, no judgment. If love is the nature of God and God is omnipresent, then love is present everywhere, including within every thought we have about ourselves. This is a holy realization. For when we judge ourselves harshly, when we withhold compassion from our own hearts, we are not failing spiritually. We are simply forgetting the truth of omnipresence. Judgment arises from the illusion of separation. Peace arises from remembering there is only one presence here. Right now, affirm to yourself, my relationship with God is my relationship with my own being. The way I meet myself is the way I experience the divine. This is why peace is not something we achieve through effort. Peace is what emerges when resistance falls away. Ernest Holmes expressed this truth beautifully when he taught. We must learn to see God in every person, not as they appear, but as they truly are, whole, divine, beloved. End of quote. Friends, this includes you as well. Not the version of you that is perfect or polished, but the you that exists right now, breathing, sensing, becoming, experiencing God. When we see ourselves as whole, we experience God as loving. When we judge ourselves as broken, we imagine God is distant, and God has never moved. Omnipresence means there is nowhere God is not. There is no moment when God withdraws. There's no part of you untouched by love. So let us remember, I am not separate from God. I am not separate from peace. I am not separate from love. God is present. I am present. Peace is present. Love is present. And I am. So remembering that omnipresence is in all, through all, as all, and so it is.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Joy. That's always how we begin our show, is with just some centering and some reflection and some peace. That's always Good. If you like the show, and of course you must, like it and share it so that we can share not only these great conversations, but also these meaningful meditations with people all over. But what we want to share now is a word from our network. This is Divine Science Everywhere on the New Thought Media Network.
Lily, hush. Lily Rose, Lily.
We're back. I think.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I knew as soon as I saw the neighbor go walking down the road on his daily walk, she was going to go off. And sure enough, there she is. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming back to us here at Divine Science Everywhere. We have got a really fascinating guest because this lady is not only a licensed psychotherapist for over 45 years, she is also an ordained Unity minister. And she is the co-founder of Harmony Relationship Center in Loveland, Colorado. And there, her work is guiding individuals, couples, and families into reconnecting with their true self and healing what stands in the way and living their dreams. And who among us doesn't need help with that from time to time? Suzanne Carter is her name. She blends psychology, spirituality, trauma-infused therapy, and experiential work, including equine and canine-assisted psychotherapy, which is really cool. Her specialties include trauma, grief recovery, addiction healing, EMDR. If you're not familiar with that, that is eye movement desensitivity or desensitization and reprocessing. She also helps with issues of codependency, couples therapy. She has one core thread that runs through all of her work, and it's when we heal ourselves, we reconnect with our gifts, and our gifts are always part of making the world a better place. And that is, in itself, is probably the winning statement in her bio. Suzanne also is the author of 2 books, including her latest, which came out not too terribly long ago, Awakening the Authentic You, a memoir of truth, healing, and courage. So please join us in welcoming Suzanne Carter. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
We are so happy to have you here. And when I was reading over your bio and I was looking at your website, a few days ago, I was like, "Oh, this lady has got so much going on. I'm not going to let the other 2 talk to you. I'm going to just do it all myself." But I will ask you my standard question to open for everything. You were already working in psychotherapy when you became a minister, is that right?
Yes.
What drew you to New Thought?
Well, it was a very important part of my journey. I loved psychology. I had gotten very involved in it in my high school psychology class. I knew it was who I am in this lifetime. It brought so much understanding. And then hearing about the concept of self-actualization, I was like pursuing that. I was going to so many workshops. At one of the workshops, I met a man who kept trying to talk me into going to his Unity church. And I said, nah, I'm not going to do that. I hadn't really had a good experience in churches necessarily. Finally, after 6 months, he gave me some daily words. He said, you really just come once. And I could almost just cry right now thinking about it. All of us, our first time in a New Thought church, it was like, oh my God, God is within. That was the, I'm surprised I'm having such an emotional reaction to that, but it was just it brought everything home. It was like, if God is within, then this self-actualization is possible, healing is possible, wholeness is possible. And it became transformation is not just theoretical, where we will find it in books, but it is real. And so, I was the youngest in my ministerial class, and as soon as I got into Unity, like a 6 months, I knew I was going to be a minister. But friends said, what you're terrified to speak to people, even 3 or 4 people in a group. And it's like, you know what, I'm sure that I'll get over that. Anyway, so I got into Unity. I became a Unity minister in 1986.
Awesome. That is so cool. Some people know, some people don't. It's not a secret, but I have a master's degree in social work, a dual track, health and aging, and children and families. One of the really coolest classes that I had when I was getting that degree was one of our professors uh, rides horses, and she took us all out to the boarding where we have the horses boarded, so that he could demonstrate to us a little bit about equine therapy. Now, people who have dogs and cats know what their mental health is so much more improved when you've got, a pet. And for me, the horses were great, especially since I'm only 5'6". And she brought out this horse that was like 18 feet tall and had me, playing around with the horse, and everybody got to do, but to see him like running around the ring and just running right up and then stopping, knowing that if he kept running, he could hurt somebody, but he didn't. And how intuitive they are to our feelings. How did you find that? Because that is like an awesome therapy technique.
Well, yes, you are very right. I love the way you described your experiences with the horse. Mainly what I would say about that is, well, how I found it. My former husband and I, we decided to move to Washington and the Seattle area. And like one day we had gone through one of those horrible coups that happens in a church. I don't know if anybody's heard of those, but anyway, so we were sort of booted out. We lost the vote by one. And anyway, so I went for a horseback ride, just on renting a horse nose to tail. And I came back and I was telling him, wherever we move, I'm going to use my inheritance and I want us to buy whatever we get. I need to get some horse property because I want to get a horse. And he said, what? So no, like, what? I didn't know that about you. And I go, I didn't either. And anyway, so I met a friend and she had 10 horses. She quickly enabled me to ride with her. And I had never really had a lesson, but it was wonderful. And then right away, she happened to hand me a flyer about equine assisted psychotherapy. And it was with EGALA, but now I am certified with ARCH, Arenas for Change. But the CEO of EGALA became the CEO. She created this new organization. Anyway, so long story short, I've been involved with doing equine assisted psychotherapy for 25 years. And horses are relationship masters. That's all that I really need to say about it. I've written an article about it that was published in a book, but the horses are so sensitive. And one thing about horses is that one reason they're relationship masters is because they have remembered that they need their herd to survive.
Yeah.
We humans do also, but horses know that at a deep level. And so that's what got me into it.
Do you suppose that comes from them being prey animals?
Well,
Back in
exactly.
the day? Yeah.
People often think, though, that means they're afraid. And what I say is that they are a prey animal as opposed to a predator, but they also know that their survival is in the herd, and how the herd is like so beautiful, and being aware of safety. And so yes, because they are a prey animal, their whole nervous system has evolved to help them know we need each other. But you know what? As I said, we humans do also.
Mhm.
And what a great way to make that connection and to show somebody who maybe has not had the best life up until then and maybe has a lot of issues, and here's a horse that can come along and say, hey, you know what, we can do this. So kudos to you on that.
Oh, thank you. Horses have the ability to, because they safety is important to them. They know when what human is safe and not, and they act out an awareness of not being safe. And so if a human comes in to the arena, if I'm working with a client, and the horse is sort of backing off, and because that's what horses do, and the person often will say, well, how come they don't like me? And then right then the therapy begins. Tell me how you know that. And they'll say, well, the horse is moving away. And it's like, we talk about it a little bit. Mostly, what do you need to do within your own self to maybe let the horse know that it's okay to be near you?
Awesome. Bishop, Joy?
I'm just so absorbed in the story that questions aren't popping up. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any, I don't have questions about that other than I need some questions about that. I grew up in a rural environment, had a lot of animals. There was a runt we had pigs, and there was a runt, and of course you're supposed to get rid of the runt, and I saved the runt, and she lived in a box by my bed, and I bottle fed her, and I washed her with shampoo, and whatever. Eventually she got big. I had to put her in the yard. So
oh Lord, you didn't call her Wilbur, did you?
Her name was Jeannie, and she lived outside in the yard or whatever. Eventually she had to go. She was just this huge hog, and she had to go live with the hogs. She didn't know she was a hog. She was a little offended, and so she would never breed with the boars or whatever. So I had that this bonding experience with this pig, and as even as an adult, my husband and I had cats for a long time, for about 16 years till he died. And whenever either one of us wouldn't feel well at all, they would sit on our chest and purr. Like that was their healing methodology. And we have a dog now. We've had her for 10 years, and she's the best nurse I've ever had. And so I've not ever officially done any therapeutic work with animals, but I think animals have done a lot of therapeutic work with me. They've showed up just in ways that just unconditional love, and no matter the species.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that story about the pig. As we know, pigs are very smart. They're part of the dog and bear family, I'm pretty sure, as far as species. But pigs are so smart, but they're also very loving. And that reminds me, I for about 15 years ago, I worked at an animal assisted organization in Denver before I moved to Loveland. And at this place, they had horses, of course, donkeys, cats, goats, and rats for the rat assisted therapy. And a few kids that I would take to work with, we're going to work with the horses. Not horses today. No. Okay, how about the donkeys and the goats? No, I want to go work with the rats. And the kids loved it. And this one little girl would let the rat go through her hair. Okay, you do it, Suzanne. And I go, I'm teaching you about boundaries. I'm drawing a line. But anyway, all animals really can. And so I love that story about your pig, though. It's so beautiful. Oh.
The only problem I would have with the rats, and there for a while, I was part of different fancy rat groups and whatnot. I wanted to get some because they're very loving and they're very intelligent. I just don't like the idea of having something just poop on me with no warning whatsoever. And so I'm like, yeah, I think I'll keep.
You ever met a baby?
Yeah, I got one. I had one of them too, and so that was a nightmare. But
but birds are this
awesome.
Yeah,
like birds too. I often wonder about that. It's just natural. So
we're all wired to connect.
Yes.
So no matter what species it is, whether it's a bird or a fish in a gold tank. My son had a goldfish. We had this amazing relationship with it. So I
had a fish tank, and the fish would play with me. like if I was watching them, they'd try to get my attention and they'd like dart about and they honestly played with me. And I was super amazed to discover that. We had horses as a kid too. We had 5 acres, big pasture. And so my dad liked to ride, and, you know, if he forced me to, I'd go long ride or whatever. It was just, you know, I didn't care about it. But I did love this one horse in particular. And my family would get so angry because they'd come out and I would be on the horse. I'd saddle up and everything and just lie on it to read. And I would just be reading, and it would be so gentle. It would just let me do it. And then, of course, I'd unsettle and put it all away. But they were like, why are you just reading on a horse? Because he lets me.
That's so wonderful. I had a horse. I had her for 10 years. When I was with Egala, they partnered with the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation and were sending quote unquote free horses to therapists to do the horse assisted therapy. Anyway, so, but the thing is, when my horse came to me, I told her, I said, you know, I'm going to be the best mother I can be. I want to make sure that you feel safe and happy. She lived on a 1,000-acre ranch with 40 herd mates. That's why I boarded her. And maybe someday I'll ride you, maybe. And so what happened is this one trainer came out and was like, you need to ride her. And so she had me on Harmony. And the minute I got on Harmony, Harmony bucked me off. And luckily I landed on my feet because I had learned this horse maneuver where you wrap your arms around their neck and you whip around and I landed on my feet. I was shocking to myself, but I said to Harmony, you were listening to me and I told you I would never ride you unless you were ready, and you weren't. And so I never rode her. We would walk all over the ranch. So I love your horse story because people think about horses as riding them. And for me, there's just like so much more, you know, that'd be like buying a car and just turning on the turn signals or something. You know, it's like horses are just the essence of them. They're here to be healers and also help us in our own relationship to ourselves and therefore to others.
When I was growing up, it was mostly cats and dogs, and that's how it's been my life. I'm more connected with small dogs. And, you know, if you go to a special event and maybe, you know, as a kid riding the horses that go around in a circle or whatever. And when I lived in Oklahoma, I lived in Sparrowhawk Village in Tahlequah, and there was a gentleman that had some horses there, and I, with one of my roommates, took a few lessons, and it was very empowering, you know, to kind of master it, and I got to see where my learning edges were and where I was timid. And one time, my friend wasn't with me; it was just me on a horse, and the gentleman that was teaching us put me on, you know, the more gentle horse, and everything was going fine until the neighbor's horse started to whinny, and I could see the ears move on that one horse, and then it decided to show off with me on it, and it started running and bucking and running and everything, and I could hear the teacher. And he panicked in his voice. He was calling the horse, whatever its name was, you know, let's say Smokey, 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 you know, and he kept calling it. And I just kept doing whatever I did. And finally, I got the horse to stop. And the owner ran over there and grabbed the horse. And he was all blustery. And he said, I can't begin to tell you how impressed I am that you kept your cool. Well, I wasn't inside, but that horse would just, you know, and so that taught me a lesson, you know, and to watch the horse or anything. Not that I could do anything because I didn't know, but you know, when I noticed the ears moving and things like that, that things were changing.
Well, it sounds like you must have been the horse felt somewhat in tune with you because the way you were able to stay on is amazing. It's beautiful.
It actually was quite miraculous, but and so I'm here today.
Joy, did you ever go riding again after that?
Yes, I knew that I needed to do that to, not
Yeah.
have that as my last experience.
Right.
We actually had a nice ride. He took us down a path and then down to the river. And so the horse kind of led us a little bit into the river, the Illinois River there. And it was actually quite lovely and, just kind of spiritual because of the environment. It's such a beautiful area of the country and the water and the splashing and everything. So
How wonderful.
it was.
My
I'm not
son,
I'm not thinking that I'm ready to get a horse or ride horses again, but I'm glad that's an experience I had.
my son will be 31, 31 in January. When he was about 5, one of his friends' birthdays came up, and they had horses. And so one of the draws was we were going to bring out a horse and let everybody take a ride. Well, he's up on this horse, and something spooked it for some reason, and it got away from whoever had the bridle and just started circling the yard. And there's Aaron holding on for dear life, going, "Stop, horse, stop!" And I'm freaking out because, here's my kid on this horse, and there's nobody there to control it. What's going to happen? And the horse stopped and gave me this look like, "Do you really think I'm going to hurt a child? Seriously?" But Aaron loved it. He wanted to go back and ride it again after that. But there for that moment, it was like I was freaked out. I know he was a little bit, but you know he's more of a daredevil. I would have said, "I'm done, no more." But he wanted to do it again.
Well, horses are amazing. I would work with even 3-year-olds, 3 and 4-year-olds, teaching them how to circle harmony, on a lead rope. But they're just so amazing. They just tune into us. They can read us. Like one time, I had someone that wanted me to work with her husband. It was so long ago, and I changed all the details. But the guy was being a bully, and so part of the whole therapy is they pick a horse, and I was using my friend who had the 10 horses. She was letting me use her horses for this work. And so you pick a horse to work with, and this man picked this one horse that nobody ever picked. He was a bully horse. He even looked mean. And and the thing is, when we walked into the arena where he was, that horse took off after us, and we had to run to get out of the arena. And I'm thinking as we're running, and I'm like, I'm going to lose my license. I'm going to lose my license. I just learned to do equine therapy. I don't know what I'm doing. And we got out of it. And I said, "Oh, how was that for you?" And he said, "That was profound. How did that horse know I'm a bully?"
Mm.
And therein the therapy began, and he worked with this horse, and the horse would soften, he would soften, and he graduated, and he was no longer a bully.
That's wonderful. And to acknowledge that he saw that in himself.
Yeah,
That's great. That's
that's
great.
great.
Like
Now,
when
I was going to say, I know that you have also helped people through grief.
Mm.
So what are some of the ways that you do that? The horses, and what other ways do you do that?
well, I'm just so glad you mentioned that, because in my current business, the Harmony Relationship Center, I think I'm going to have a major focus on grief.
Mm.
My sister, the way I got into grief is my sister died in 2002. And in my childhood, I was the overachiever. Anybody that remembers the cartoon Mighty Mouse, Here I Come to Save the Day, I was that. I learned that I was more the hero. Well, my sister, the only place she could go was to be the rebel. And so that's just what she did. She was always a rebel. I had to try the perfect overachiever in every way. And my sister would say to me, "I'm having a lot more fun with my life than you are." But anyway, so she died of a broken heart, but took an alcohol bath,
Mm.
which and that's how she died, from alcoholism. But in reality, she and I were only a year apart. I was the oldest, but she and I were so close in so many ways. And so when she died, I was like, even as a minister, I didn't know how to deal with the grief. So I called a former therapist and he said, Suzanne, get this book, the Grief Recovery Handbook. It'll change your life and everything about it. And it was true. I got the book. He said, do exercises with your friends, then get certified with the Grief Recovery Institute. But about grief, what I've learned is that almost every issue that we may have often begins with a loss.
Yeah.
And as humans, we don't know how to deal with loss and grief very well. The Grief Recovery Institute research showed that word grief is the worst. It's the word that people hate the most, even more than the word death. And so, but I love it because I do weekend workshops on this method, the grief recovery method. I love it. And so anyway, I don't know if that answered your question or not, Joy, but I love that work so much. When I do funerals, officiate for funerals, I guess we don't officiate for funerals, lead a memorial service. I love it because it's such an opportunity to be so fully present to people in that emotion of loss and grief. As you know, I think too, Joy, that grief, the definition of grief is the conflicting mass of human emotions that follow all loss. And so it doesn't mean that people think grief is sadness, but grief can be anger or fear or even, happiness. And one thing that, because of my dual ministry, as you also, Jeff, have a dual ministry, maybe we all have this, but the dual ministry of psychology and psychotherapy, one thing that I bring to everything is of emotional intelligence. That was one of my inner gifts that helped me survive as a child. But the fact that how important emotions are, and sometimes, sometimes in New Thought, and I know it's not true in this group, I can tell, but we can have an allergy to feelings, an allergy to fear or sadness or anger. We call those negative emotions.
We've talked about that on the show.
Say what?
We've talked about that on the show.
Oh, beautiful. And the thing is, like, Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychiatrist, taught there's 4 ways of understanding our world: thinking, sensing, which is body knowing, intuiting, and feeling. All 4 are equal and important. And just in this lifetime, feeling awareness is one thing that I sort of bring to everything. And I have clients come and say, you mean it's okay to have all this deep sadness? And I go, of course it is. What happened? And, so I love it. I love emotional intelligence with grief. It's my favorite thing to do if I could only pick one. But I have too many things. I wouldn't want to pick that, but I love it.
You touched on something that I was going to ask you about, and then I thought, no, I don't want to do that. But since you brought it up, okay. While I was in social work school, I was also taking ministerial classes. And one of my social work professors told me, she said, you're going to be doing counseling with clients. She said, you have to remember to put on your social work hat to do this and take off the minister hat, because you don't want to overstep a boundary and endanger your license. How have you handled that? Because that kind of, I don't work in social work anymore. I retired from that, but that always stuck with me, is I didn't want to cross some sort of weird boundary and lose my license.
You mean like if you ventured into spirituality, she was worried about that?
I think that's what it was. Because social workers are very loving and accepting and very progressive, but they also tend to shy away from things of a spiritual or religious nature.
Yes, and the way that I handle that is, I have on my website that I'm an ordained minister of, almost 40 years. It'll be 40 years next June 26th, 2026. But the way I do it is because, and it's so wonderful to be able to talk we're all of the same kind, knowing that the divine is within. And for me, I like to articulate it as our true self, our authentic self, our real self. You can call it the Christ within or the divine within. And that's how I deal with it for me. I help people find their authentic self. And I tell them, and I have exercises that I do with them and say, this is the most important part of the work we do. It's not my expertise that's going to help you heal. It's me connecting you to your inner expert. I'm not an expert on anybody. I help you connect with your inner expert. But then if they want to call it, God within, fine. And that's how I get over it, get through it. And it works very well for me that way. Does that make sense?
It does. My teacher, my ministerial teacher, who works with Bishop Durrell as part of our one of our seminaries, was Dr. Tim Stewart, was talking one time about how he had a client who was very Christian oriented, religious, and he would counsel her as a divine science / religious science minister / hypnotherapist, because that's what he did. And when they would pray at the end, and he would pray an affirmative prayer, and at the end of it, she would go, "In Jesus' name, amen." And so he said, well, if that's what it takes to connect with her, because he wasn't having all that much success with her until he started ending his prayers with "in Jesus' name," and the woman thrived after that. And so that was pretty cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Charles Fillmore talked about that phrase being a way that some people tap into the consciousness of Jesus Christ. Charles Fillmore, would sometimes pray in the name and nature of Jesus the Christ or whatever. And he would talk about the psychological impact of that if you need it, have it.
Oh, exactly. It's very, very, I agree with that completely. And so for me, and as we are, all of us here, and hopefully people tuning in, we know the importance of listening, just deep listening. And one thing I learned when I worked at Silent Unity, when I was, Unity's 24-hour prayer ministry, is that they were so worried they weren't going to hire me because they were afraid I was going to try to do counseling on Silent Unity. And it's like, and I wouldn't have anyway. But what I learned was it was so beautiful just to be present and to pray with them based on the prayer request. It wasn't anything of my knowledge or what I think they should have, but being so fully present. And that's such an important part of life, to be present. Like in mastermind groups, I've tried very much to be present to what people ask for, and sometimes I've had to say, no, I didn't ask for that. This is what I'm asking for. To be present to what people ask for. And the same with horses, the horse therapy. Back to that, I'm so glad it came up today so much, but it was like the horse therapy was always about the client and the horse. It was never about me. And a lot of horse therapists try to lay their psychological theories into the session. And no, you don't need to. It's between the horse and the client. And I don't need to project myself onto them or have an agenda. And so I've really been able to learn that through the different ways I've tried to heal myself and others.
Wonderful.
Well, we only have an hour, and you have got so many other credentials that we need to explore. I'm going to put you on the spot, and don't feel special because I've done it to other people, and say, will you please commit to coming back on our show so we can explore things like the eye movement desensitization. I can't say that word. The EMDR, and the other thing that came up that really caught my eye was your spiritual intelligence coaching. So please come back so we can talk about that.
I would love to. That's so wonderful. Whenever you want me to, I'll be here.
Okay. But we do owe it to you to address your book, Awakening the Authentic You, because that's really recent. And tell us a little bit about that. I know for me, authenticity has been an issue. the past few years. I'm finally coming around to the fact that it's okay to, maybe drop a profanity here and there or tell a little off-color joke. And people are like, "You're a minister?" Yeah, and yeah. I'm not your typical Christian, so don't put me in there. So yeah, talk to us about your book on authenticity.
Well, I'll do that. So like 2.5 years ago, a massive nuclear bomb went off in my life. That's what it felt like when my former husband of 39 years decided to leave. I don't need to get into the whys or whatever about it, but it was obviously, I've mentioned just briefly, I've done a lot of healing, just lots. It's just who I am in this lifetime. If I'm dealing with something, I want to heal it so I can also help my clients. But more for me, when he left, it was I sometimes didn't know if I was going to make it or not. But after a year and a half of doing healing, because we had moved, I left my practice of 20 years because we were going to start a new ministry. Anyway, I am here to say that the loss affected me on so many levels. And so I did what I do with my clients. Well, it's what I've always done: connect deeply to who I am, the authentic self, heal ways of connecting deeply within. And most of my friends could not handle it, so they went away. So it was mostly me and my dog and doing this deep healing work. But that's what led me to write the book, because so many people, we go through big things, I mean, this may have been the biggest loss that I had experienced because it was on all levels and it was shocking. But we go through stuff, and sometimes people don't know they can heal from these things.
Mm.
And again, the key is always first turn within
Thank you.
and do that. And so that's what I've been doing. And that is what the book is about. And just as a little caveat on that, some people have said, "Why would you share so much stuff?" And I go, well, that's what a memoir is for, to express what you've done. And ideally, not all memoirs do, but it's like to express how to heal. And so that's what it's about. And so that's why I wrote it.
Thank you very much. I hate to interrupt, but we do have a commitment to do 2 cutaways per show, and we're almost out of show. So I just need to remind everyone, this is Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome back, and thank you so much. I'll look forward to the next time that we can have a conversation. That's great. That's great. Super.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, next week, the 3 of us, the 3 co-hosts, are going to discuss metaphysical interpretation of the Christmas season. So be sure to join us to learn a little bit more about divine science and metaphysics as we discuss that. And then the Friday after Christmas, we're having a replay. One of our favorite guests, Dr. Raymond Anderson, will be the replay. And then the 3 of us on the first Friday of the new year are going to talk about new beginnings, metaphysically, divine science, and maybe talk about some goals. So we'll look forward to seeing you, and be sure to return. And you can watch us on YouTube, Divine Science Everywhere, on the New Thought Media Network.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Very much. Delightful guest.
Thank you.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.